Hi. When the world was still struggling to understand the rhythm of nature, when humans had not even discovered the written script, our land, Bharat, was already echoing with hymns of knowledge. Knowledge that was not composed by humans, but revealed to the rishis who lived in deep meditation. This treasury of eternal wisdom is called Vedic literature. It is the oldest and the most sacred foundation of Indian culture, the light that still guides humanity today. So come, let's journey together to discover the roots of this timeless wisdom. In today's world, we are drowning in information. We know everything but understand nothing. Children scroll for hours yet feel restless. Adults have access to every fact but lack peace. Even with AI, GPT, and quantum computing, people complain of anxiety, broken families, and a lack of meaning. But what if I tell you, thousands of years ago, our rishis had already solved this problem? They said real knowledge does not come from outside, it comes from going inward. And this journey gave birth to the most profound treasure the world has ever seen, the Vedas. The word Veda comes from the Sanskrit word Vida, meaning to know. Veda means spiritual knowledge. Vedas are considered the divine revelations, Shruti, not human compositions. To begin with the Vedas, we must start with the great sage Vedavyasa. It is said that Vyasa saw that human memory was weakening. Until then, Vedic knowledge was preserved only by oral tradition, Shruti. But Vyasa feared that in the coming ages, Kali Yuga, people would forget. So, the compassion for future generations, he compiled the vast ocean of Vedic knowledge and divided it into four parts: Rig Veda, Yajurveda, Samaveda, Atharvaveda. This is why he is called Vedavyasa, the one who arranged, categorized, and preserved the essence of wisdom for all times. When we speak of Vedic literature, we usually think of hymns, rituals, and philosophy. But our rishis had a much deeper vision. They didn't record knowledge merely to preserve it, they designed it as a map for human life itself. Let's take an example. If we assume that the average human life spans 100 years, we can divide it into four equal parts of 25 years each. Each of these stages represents a journey, from learning to responsibility, from reflection to liberation, and interestingly, each part of the Vedas beautifully corresponds to each stage of life. The first 25 years of life, Brahmacharya, belong to learning. A child leaves home, lives with the Guru, and absorbs discipline, humility, and knowledge. This period is pure, fresh, filled with curiosity and energy. Just like the Samhitas, which are the earliest and purest layer of the Vedas. They have collections of hymns, prayers, and mantras offered in reverence to the divine. In Brahmacharya, we learn how to think, not what to think. We learn focus, respect, and purity of intention, values the modern generation needs more than ever. Today we call it school life or college life. But imagine if we could bring back even a small part of that Gurukul spirit, sitting close to the teacher, learning with sincerity, without distraction, without fear, without comparison. The next 25 years are the Grihastha, the stage of the householder. Marriage, family, career, responsibilities. This is the foundation of society itself. And just like this, the Brahmanas form the explanatory part of the Vedas. They explain the meanings and interpretations of the Samhitas, the very prayers and hymns that one heard during Brahmacharya. In this stage, a person applies that knowledge in real life through duties, rituals, and actions. Vanaprastha, the third stage of life. At around 50 years, one slowly withdraws from worldly duties. The next generation takes charge, parents step back. They move towards simple living, contemplation, and inner reflection. The Aranyakas or forest books are exactly this, written for people who lived in forests, away from noise, seeking deeper meaning. Vanaprastha teaches us that life is not just about achieving, but about understanding, not about collecting things, but about collecting wisdom. In many families today, the elderly feel lonely or ignored. But in Vedic times, they were the torch bearers of wisdom, the gentle guides of the family. Sannyasa, the last stage of human life. It is the age of liberation. After 75 years of age, the soul seeks only one thing, truth. No attachments, no possessions, no titles. Only the quest to understand who am I? What is the soul? What is God? This stage corresponds to the Upanishads, where the highest spiritual truths are revealed. Sannyasa is not running away, it is returning home to the self, to silence, to peace. In today's world, we fear old age. But the Upanishads show that the last part of life is the most beautiful, where wisdom replaces worry and liberation replaces fear. The Vedic rishis designed life itself as a journey, from learning to responsibility, to reflection, to liberation. And the four parts of the Vedas guide us through this journey. If a human life is 100-year temple, the Vedic literature is the blueprint. This is the completeness of our culture, where even the stages of life have been elevated into sacred paths of knowledge. After dividing life and knowledge into such perfect stages, the sages of Bharat did something extraordinary. They also created a system of applied knowledge, wisdom that could be used in health, music, fair, and arts. These are called the Upavedas, the supplementary Vedas. There are four major Upavedas. The first, Ayurveda, science of life and medicine, associated with the Rig Veda. Healing, herbs, surgery, human body sciences, Ayurveda is still living today, showing how advanced our ancestors were. The second, Dhanurveda, science of archery and warfare. It's a subsidiary of Yajurveda. It talks about martial arts, bow, arrow, war formations, strategies, training of warriors. This proves Bharat's scientific military tradition. The third, Gandharva Veda, music, dance, arts. It's a subsidiary of Samaveda, melody, rhythm, instruments, classical dance routes. The Samaveda itself is musical, so this Upaveda blossomed from it. And the fourth and the last is a Shilpa Veda, architecture, sculpture, crafts. It's a subsidiary of Atharva Veda, temple construction, geometry, sculpture, iconography. Even our architecture had a Vedic foundation. So our culture did not separate spiritual life and daily life. For us, medicine was sacred, music was sacred, even warfare was sacred, because everything was connected to dharma. Just like a student needs grammar, vocabulary, and mathematics, a Vedic student needed special sciences to understand the Vedas deeply. These were the Vedangas. The 6 Vedangas are as follows. First one, Shiksha, that is pronunciation. Second, Kalpa, ritual rules. Third, Vyakarana, grammar. Fourth, Nirukta, etymology, meaning of words. Fifth, Chanda, meter of hymns. Sixth, Jyotisha, astronomy and astrology. These six disciplines ensured that not even a single syllable of the Veda was mispronounced. Can you imagine? Our ancestors created an entire scientific system just to preserve sound vibrations correctly. There are thousands of Upanishads, but among them, our tradition considers 10 as the most important. 10 jewels of Hindu philosophy. The 10 Upanishads, principal Upanishads. The first, Isha Upanishad. The second, Kena Upanishad. The third, Kathopanishad. Fourth, Prashna Upanishad. Fifth, Mundaka Upanishad. Sixth, Mandukya Upanishad. Seventh, Taittiriya Upanishad. Eighth, Aitareya Upanishad. Ninth, Chandogya Upanishad, and the last and the 10th jewel, that is the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. Each one deals with Atman, that is soul, Brahman, ultimate reality, karma, rebirth, and the liberation, that is moksha. As we are talking about the Upanishads, I want to share two stories that touched me deeply. Two stories that made me pause, reflect, and truly understand how powerful, how advanced, and how transformative our Vedic wisdom really is. Both stories come from the two most important Upanishads, and I felt I must share them with you. Let me take you to a moment from an ancient Upanishad, a moment that changed the destiny of a young boy, Nachiketa. In a time when even adults feared death, a small child walked straight into the house of Yama, the god of death, not out of fear, but out of the search for truth. Ask yourself, how many of us today have that courage? We fear exams, we fear future, we fear opinions. But here was a child who faced death itself to seek knowledge. This story moved me the first time I read it. It comes from the Kathopanishad, one of the 10 principal Upanishads. Nachiketa was a young boy, intelligent, honest, and pure hearted. His father, Vajashravas, was performing a sacred sacrifice where he had to donate all his possessions. But instead of giving meaningful gifts, he donated only old, weak, useless cows. Nachiketa, seeing this insincerity, asked a question that no child ever asked before. Father, to whom will you give me? He asked it again and again until the irritated father said, I give you to Yama, the god of death. Nachiketa, being truthful and fearless, walked alone to the abode of Yama. Yama was not at home, so this little boy waited 3 days without food or water. When Yama returned, he was deeply moved by the boy's sincerity and granted him 3 boons. First boon, Nachiketa asked for his father's anger to disappear and for harmony to return, and Yama blessed him. The second boon, he asked to learn the sacred fire sacrifice that leads to heavenly realms. Yama taught him lovingly. The third boon, Nachiketa asked, what happens after death? Does the soul continue to exist? Yama tried to distract him with wealth, music, pleasures, long life, but Nachiketa refused everything. Finally, Yama revealed the highest truth. The Atman is eternal. It cannot die. It is one with Brahman. Liberation comes only through self-realization. Nachiketa thus became a symbol of fearlessness, purity, clarity, and undying hunger for truth. This is another story that stayed with me for a long time. It comes from the Chandogya Upanishad. It contains one of the greatest statements ever spoken. Tattvamasi, you are that. Tat, that is that supreme reality. Tvam, you, asi, are. The meaning goes like this: you are not a limited being. Your true nature is the same as the cosmic reality. So there is a story behind it. A young man named Shvetaketu came home after 12 years of education filled with pride. His father, the wise sage Uddalaka, wanted to remove this pride gently. So he taught him through simple, beautiful examples. The first example he took was a clay example. All clay pots look different, but all are made of the same clay. Names and shapes may differ, but the essence is one. Likewise, all beings look different, but their essence is Brahman. And the second example he took was the salt and water example. He said, salt once dissolved in water becomes invisible, yet its presence is felt everywhere. Similarly, Brahman is invisible, but its presence fills the entire universe. And after each lesson, Uddalaka told his son, Tattvamasi, Shvetaketo, you are that supreme reality. Slowly, Shvetaketu understood that the same divine presence or same divine essence which is present in the universe is present within him. And among all the Upanishads, there is one teaching, one sentence, one Mahavakya that shines like the sun, Tattvamasi. This is non duality, this is Advaita. This is the highest revelation of the Upanishads. If the Vedas are the body of our civilization, the Upanishads are its soul. And the soul of the Upanishads is captured in these words. After journeying through the Vedas, the Upavedas, the Vedangas, and these great Upanishadic truths, we arrive at one simple but life changing realization. The answers we seek outside are already within us. And that is why it's time to return to our roots, to help our children learn Sanskrit, understand our Vedas, cherish our stories, and inherit the wisdom our ancestors preserved for thousands of years. So today, scientists call it quantum entanglement. Upanishads call it Tattvamasi. Different words, but the same truth. In a world rushing behind artificial intelligence, our rishis touch the source of inner intelligence. In a world obsessed with data, they discovered consciousness. In a world exploring the outer universe, they explored the inner universe. That is why the Vedas are not ancient texts, they are timeless blueprints of human knowledge. Tell me, which civilization has a complete system where education, family life, social duties, meditation, liberation, everything fits into a single flowing design? This is why our ancestors lived with purpose. This is why their lives were disciplined, harmonious, meaningful. Their goal was not just to live, but to liberate the soul. I'm Deepthy Shankara Warrior, a teacher by profession but at heart a lifelong learner and storyteller. Through Invincible Bharatam, I wish to share my deep love for our land, its history, values, and the wisdom hidden in every tale. In the next episode, we will step into the early Vedic period, the life, culture, society, families, and values of the people who lived in this world of wisdom. Until then, let knowledge be your light. Namaste.